Hi and welcome back. I'm hoping you know who I am by now as this channel grows and gets bigger. If you are new here, then my name is Stuart and I am a practicing psychotherapist specialising in trauma. And today I am continuing the NF journey with a song called Paralyzed. Now, I know I keep getting comments about some specific NF tracks that you want me to check out, that I need to listen to. I will get to them. I'm doing the journey. It seemed like a cool way to do it. I got a list of Reddit that I'm going through. I'm loving the way all of these tracks are building upon each other in terms of NF's journey and the journey that we now get to share with him. So I want to stick with that. I hope that's cool. So let's just get straight into this one. Oh, is this soft? Okay, you can sing.
When did I lose myself? All the words that leave my tongue feel like they came from someone else. I'm paralyzed. Where are my feelings?
Oh, those vocals. Sounds like he's explaining some of the impacts of trauma really well here. We know these kind of things happen through research about what happens during trauma and trauma responses. Many of my clients report very similar experiences too, and so this all kind of matches up. Feeling numb as a part of a trauma response, it's a safety response to protect ourselves from overwhelming feelings and distress. And I'm not talking about dissociating or numbing during the actual traumatic event, although obviously that does happen and can happen. I'm talking about afterwards. It could be years afterwards that these responses can continue to happen. And most of us have heard of fight or flight, the fight or flight response. Well, there's a stage after that, which is freeze. And feeling numb is a bit like that freeze response. It's a bit like emotional freezing. If I just stay still, if I don't do anything, if I don't move, if I don't even try to think, if I don't even try and feel, if I just literally do nothing, then maybe, just maybe, I can keep myself safe. I can keep from being hurt again. I can keep the past from repeating itself. And clinically, we see this in the diagnosis of PTSD, under the core component of avoidance. It's not just avoidance of external triggers and external things that remind ourselves of what happened. It's also the experiential avoidance of coming to terms with what happened and avoiding thinking about what happened and trying to process what happened. And that's understandable, right? It's so overwhelming that the brain and the body just cannot process it properly. It's trying to protect itself. But the problem with that is exactly what Nate says next. He says, where is the real me? Because when you are so emotionally numb, you can't access any of your feelings, including the ones that bring you joy and happiness. That's when you feel completely lost as a person. That's when you feel changed. And I think with paralyzed, he could mean literally he cannot move. He's in a freeze response. But there's also a wider kind of context, a wider way to see the word paralyzed, in the sense that he just cannot move forward with his life. Like his life is paralyzed in the moment. He's kind of stuck. Although on the plus side of this, we know he got unstuck at some point because he went on to, become this great artist and release all of this fantastic music and to follow his dream and what he wanted to do, which is awesome. Beautiful voice though. I'm surprised by this.
When did I become so cold?
Yep.
When did I become ashamed? Oh, where's the person that I know?
The stereo effect of these headphones.
They must have left with all my faith. I'm paralyzed.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Where are my feelings? I no longer feel things. I know I should. I'm paralyzed. Where is the real me? I'm lost and it can't.
Do you know what else is really hard listening to this song is you can see him next to the words, like you can see his face, and it reminds you that he's this person, a person who is experiencing these words next to him, and it's really touching. It really makes it far more personal when it does to me anyway. I keep glancing across at his face, looking back at the words, and it's just like, oh, Nate. And I just want to quickly touch on two things that he said there as well, so which really stood out to me. So he says, where is it? There. Feeling ashamed. And I hear this so often, especially from adults who were traumatized as children, and they feel ashamed that they let it happen. We often have to do some inner child work with people who have experienced this, some perspective taking. Think back to the time when you were 6 and this happened. Did you really have a chance to stop it? What would you say now as an adult to 6-year-old you in that moment? And because this is what I do, it's probably worth pointing out that if someone has PTSD, so has those core components of the diagnostic criteria, so avoidance, hypervigilance, and re-experiencing, and then they also have these feelings of persistent shame, then they actually meet the criteria for CPTSD, so complex PTSD. And I know the way that I am describing that, it sounds very clinical, it sounds very cold and medicalizing or pathologizing, what is a normal human reaction to a very difficult experience. I don't mean it to come across like that. I'm just sharing kind of my knowledge and kind of just what I know about the topic, okay? Personally, in my practice, I don't get too hooked up on technicalities of diagnosis, unless it is helpful for that person for some reason. I want to understand more about, what they want help with, more about the quality of their life, what their needs are, and help them move forward with that. As Nate puts it, I think he said somewhere that he wants to find the real them. He's no longer himself. And that's my priority as a therapist, and to help someone with that quality of life and help find themselves again and move forward. And I appreciate that might not be the most popular way to look at things. A lot of services are set up around symptom reduction. So we're looking at reducing those symptoms of trauma, not so much at looking at specifically the primary goal of looking at helping the person move forward with their lives, with the improving their quality of life. And I guess you could say symptom reduction will equal higher quality of life, but it actually doesn't always work out that way. So I favor quality of life. It's possible, and it sounds really hard and maybe a bit out there for some of you, but it is possible to still have some symptoms but improve the quality of your life by moving forward. It is possible. If you're not sure how, check out my other channel, Therapy in Action. I'm not saying I'm right, it's just the way I work. I'd love to know your thoughts on this.
Things I know I should. I'm paralyzed. Where is the real me? I'm lost and it kills me inside. I'm paralyzed. I'm paralyzed. I'm scared to live, but I'm scared to die. And if life is pain, then I buried mine a long time ago, but it's still alive. And it's taking over me. Where am I? I wanna feel something.
There he is.
But I don't feel nothing. I wonder why. I'm in the race of life and time passed by. Look, I sit back and I watch it.
Well, I'm gonna have to. I got too into that then, but I wasn't really paying attention to the words. I was just loving the drop. Let me go back.
I'm paralyzed. I'm scared to live, but I'm scared to die. And if life is pain, then I buried mine a long time ago, but it's still alive. And it's taking over me. Where am I? I wanna feel something. I'm numb inside, but I don't feel nothing. I wonder why. I'm in the race of life and time passed by. Look, I sit back and I watch it. Hands in my pockets. Waves come crashing over me, but I just watch them. I just watch them. I'm underwater, but I feel like I'm on top of it. I'm at the bottom, but I don't know what the problem is. I'm in a box, but I'm the one that locked me in. Suffocating and I'm running out of oxygen. Where are my feelings? I no longer feel them.
Right, what a great drop. I caught most of it actually with the lyrics in the end, but it all seemed to essentially say the same thing. I'm trapped. I'm paralyzed. I can see life happening around me, but I can't move. I'm stuck. Time is passing me by. I don't know what to do. And it feels like I'm the one keeping me here. I'm the one not allowing myself to move forward. And this might sound, and I don't mean it to be a little controversial to some of you, and I don't mean this to sound as harsh as it might came out, but to some extent he is right. It is most likely his avoidance of thinking about and processing the experience that is most likely maintaining the emotional numbness. You know, as I said before, it's a safety mechanism, which makes sense, but we need to overcome that in order to move on. And you can do that with help, with professional help. You know, I'm not blaming him. Believe me, there are things in my mind that I won't go anywhere near because they are too difficult for me. But the difference for me is they don't get in the way of me living my life. Okay. When they do start to get in the way for people, then that's when we need to consider professional help. You know, people like me, people who have dedicated their lives to working with people like Nate. You know, I'm not talking 8 sessions of CBT. I'm talking building a relationship, building trust, building safety, moving at a pace and a speed that's appropriate for that person, staying with them, even when it gets really hard and they don't want to continue, or even if they take a step or 2 steps back, staying with them. Because what they are going through, it's so difficult, and it takes so much courage to put themselves through that. Beautiful. There we go. The production on that is insane. I mean, it almost sounded like another Nate inside trying to get out of the Nate that is stuck and paralyzed. I'm not sure if that was the intention, but that's kind of what came up for me in that moment. So that's it. That was my reaction to NF Paralyzed. What a completely different type of song. I wasn't expecting that at all, but I absolutely loved it. And it makes so much sense in the context of his journey so far. I believe that might have been the last track on that particular album. So I'll be following on with this next album, which I think is Therapy Session. So look out for that one. Subscribe so you're updated and you know when that one comes out. Hope you liked it. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.